Hey, what's up? This is Cypher Marcello Currents Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-America all day, and everybody with them. So, this message is going to be about Americans are no longer American when they break the Constitution. Americans are no longer American when you break the Constitution. You can't say desperate times, desperate measures, play all your little games. If you break somebody's constitutional rights, you are no longer American. You are no longer American. What defines an American? We don't all get treated equal. We don't all have the same privileges. We don't all live the same life or lifestyle. So you can't talk about specifics like those. So what makes one American? What makes one American is the constitutional rights that you have. Abiding by the constitutional rights. Not violating the constitutional rights of others. No man here in America, government or non-government, can claim to be America or American and break the constitutional rights of an American. You just gave up your soul for something else. So to catch a certain person, you gave up your soul as far as being American. You gave up your identity as far as being American. Because that is what identifies an American, is the Constitution. So if you break those rights, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about, desperate times and desperate measures. No one's a simpleton here. That's a simple-minded response to what I'm saying. You can't use desperate times, desperate measures. If you break someone's constitutional rights through illegal surveillance, invasion of privacy, psychological war games, and things and the likes of those things, you are no longer American by definition because you are outside of American character. You're not walking according to American laws. Your perspective and your actions are not lining up with what the guidelines are here. So you cannot claim to be American. You don't have the luxury. I don't care if you're Joe Biden. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Donald Trump. I don't care who you are. If you are here in America and you are an American citizen with a social security card number, social security card number, you are not American if you break the constitutional rights of Americans. That's why they're suffering. That's why the energy in the air is different. That's why the aura has changed on the country, because the soul of America has been ripped out through illegal surveillance and through illegal war games and psychological war games. You gave up the soul of your country. You don't have the luxury of having both. And that's why now it's not American and it's no more than these other bloodthirsty, hateful, crazy countries. And that's why you're cursed now. You're just like, in other words, the Middle East through your actions. You can't be the Middle East and be American at the same time. You can't act like you're in somewhere in the Middle East, wild, bewildered people running around doing things, and then say I'm American over here. It doesn't work like that. In the spiritual world, you have changed your energy and your vibration from non-American to non-American. It's not my fault. You chose to pursue people like me. You chose to pursue others, and you did it to an extreme to where you broke constitutional rights, and you no longer can claim to be American because your vibration is not American. Your energy is not American. Your perspective is not American. The guidelines you go by, the orders, the commands that you keep and what you submit to, the commands and the guidelines you submit to, you violated them. If you were in the military and you violate guidelines and principles, you are discharged. If you break the Constitution, you are discharged from being American. This should have been said a long time ago. You can't say, I don't care nothing about the National Guard. I don't care nothing about that. Because what I'm going to tell you is you should be able to do your job without breaking the constitutional rights of Americans. That's what makes you strong and competent at your job, is you're able to not break the rights of Americans and still get your mission accomplished. Yeah, you don't get to be part of war crimes and then say, I'm American. No, you're no longer American. You're what I call strange America. That's your new name. You are strange America. You are no longer the patriots and Americans you used to be if you have broken the constitutional rights of any American citizen here. In blood and in psychological war games, in any blood sports, you're no longer American. So while you think it's funny, while you think you're playing a game, your soul is ripped out as far as being American. The essence of who you are as an American is gone through your actions. You can't flip and try to change to be American and then say, oh, okay, we're going to do these things over here, but then we're going to come back over here and be a part of this, be a part of the Constitution. When it's done, it doesn't work like that. Those are war crimes. That's what that's called. So I'm technically more American than you, without trying to be, because I have not broken the constitutional rights of a person that is American. I have not invaded anybody's privacy. I have not put anyone under legal surveillance. So I'm more American than these so-called patriots. Ironically, I am more American than they are, while they're accusing me of being a traitor, this, that, the third, the enemy of America. You have broken the constitutional rights of mine, which makes you not of the character and the nature or submitting to the guidelines of America, of the Constitution. So you're not submitted to the American guidelines when you're breaking the Constitution. Therefore, you don't have the luxury of saying that you're in the character of an American when you're breaking what it is to be in the character of an American, which is the Constitution. If you're not in that character and you violate that character, you don't have the right to say that you are of American character. No, I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what times it is. It could be the space age times. We could be flying around in cars. If you're breaking the Constitution flying around in cars, you're no longer American. Because you don't have the character of American. So you're like some bewildered Middle Eastern person. That's what you are. So you've been bodied as an American by your own actions, by your need to know all things and to play with all things. It's not you're not omnipresent. You shouldn't be omnipresent because you're not God. Anybody, any institution trying to be omnipresent, you are playing God and you have denied your American character. How can you say this is America when you're not American? How can you say this is America when people walk outside and they're not living out the liberties of America? That is not America. If you go outside and it's not America, and the perspective is not America, and the things that people are submitted to is not American, which is the Constitution, then it's not America anymore. So not only have you played a game, but you have also forfeited your American citizenship and your American character. No person. You can fool yourself, but if you take oaths, if you take heart promises to keep the Constitution, which defines this land, and you don't keep that, then you are no longer a part of what existed and what exists as America. That's how you got caught. That's how you got caught up. That's how you got bodied. You forfeited your American character. I don't care who you call yourself. COVID-19 has you in its clutches right now. And you know why it's here more than anywhere else? Because you have denied your American character. You have denied your American spirit through invasion of privacy and illegal surveillance and psychological games and gang stalking. It doesn't take the whole American community to deny a country of its nature. Let me say that again. It does not take the whole American community to deny America of its nature. All it takes is just enough of an event of something bad or something evil happening, and the nature of the country is dissolved into nothingness. And this is what has happened to you. This is why it feels the way it feels. This is why the aura is the way it is in this country, because you have decided to play these Dunkin' Donut and McDonald's sponsored blood sport, corny cornball, Mickey Mouse games, and you have denied the nature and character of America, and you allow these citizens who have social security numbers. I don't care what they belong to. I don't care what they call themselves. If they have American social security numbers, these are the people that cause your country to forfeit its nature and character. It doesn't matter who you call them. If you allow them to play games, if you allow them to do what they do, and you allow them to play psychological war games, which gives a certain permission. you allowed them to forfeit the nature of your country by what they was doing. It doesn't matter that it wasn't all of you. You allowed people with American Social Security numbers. Those are Americans. We don't care if they're military. We don't care if they're police. We don't care who they are. Their authority does not matter. Their position in this society does not matter. What matters is that it was a certain permission subtly given to this by the American surrounding community. There was no rebellion, which means that it is an acceptance, which means it was accepted for America to deny its nature and character, which means the entire community is no longer American. And you still lost. And you still lost. So why people want to point to a certain group, I don't give them the privilege of thinking that they're on the level of the kingdom of God. That's ridiculous. That's pathetic in itself. They're pathetic, okay? These are people with American Social Security numbers that you can look up. And if they broke the Constitution of an American, and any American authorities knew about it, they instantly attached themselves to those actions. That's called being an accessory to a crime, to a war crime, which means you're an accessory to denying the character of America and dissolving the character of America and breaking the constitutional rights of an American, which connects all the dots to say why America is now dissolved. Okay? Now you can say you don't believe in it. It is, but it's see, what America don't understand is there is a spiritual world. Okay? And when you have certain actions, that's energy. When you have certain perspectives, worldviews, that's energy. When you shut off those actions and energies and you take on the actions and nature of something else because you want to be innovative for 2021, you have denied your American nature, which God holds you responsible, because these are oaths, these are promises, these are rights to people that God looks over and see if those rights are respected. So if those rights are not respected by American community, enough of the American citizens with the Social Security number, that's all they gotta have. That's all we looking at. You got a Social Security number. Because those people with the Social Security numbers that are American did what they did, that in itself, right there, changes everything. Okay? So you can't have the luxury of saying we're gonna go back to normal. There is no back to normal. Because not only is COVID here and ravishing on you, you've also broken the constitutional rights of people to have an American citizenship and Social Security number just like you. So whether you agree with me or not, if people have taken oaths and promises to abide by these constitutional rights, and they have not done that, that then makes them not American. You just don't hear it like this because you're not used to hearing citizens being discharged from their country. But that's what it is. They have been discharged from their country. This is why you have the curses. This is why COVID is here more than anywhere else. Oh yeah. It's no man of military honor that will say, I can break the constitutional rights of Americans and still be American. It's no police of honorable integrity that can say, I can break the constitutional rights of an American for the sake of whatever. It does not matter. It doesn't matter for terrorism, for anything. Even terrorism cannot triumph as a motive, seeking it out as a motive for breaking someone's constitutional rights. It's just tough. You either win, hopefully you don't die. But you can't break the Constitution because you're scared for your community to die. Death is a part of life, unfortunately. And you can't be a coward and break the Constitution to try to save lives. You got to be brave enough to keep the Constitution over the country at all costs. Now that's America. You keep the Constitution going and flowing at all costs over the country. That's American. Because what we have here is a bunch of sloppiness, sloppy Joe-ness, some sloppy Joe foolishness. And you want to stamp it as American patriotisms. That's what you want to do. But there's no way you can do that when you're denying the character and you're not of America and you're not brave enough to keep the Constitution over the country without breaking the rights of American citizens, even by life and death. You should be willing to die to preserve the Constitution, and that makes a person American. See how you beat? You can't play games with life. You can't play games with your own principles, things that you said, things that you abide by, and then turn around and say you still that. If you knew any of these American citizens were doing this and you did not apprehend them and you did not put pressure on them, proper pressure, to destroy their operations, then that gave consent, in other words. That's what it did. That gave consent for them to play illegal surveillance games, to play all type of games. You gave consent when you knew about it, and you did not rebel against people that were breaking the constitutional rights of other Americans. That's called an accessory. The police, when they arrest people, if you're there, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have been there. You should have did something about it. That's called being an accessory to a crime. America has been an accessory to a war crime. And you have therefore denied your American character and your submission to American laws and the American constitutional rights. You can say, well, I'm not involved. Well, a person that is charged with accessories, you could say they are not involved. There are enough authorities here in America that knew about what was going on, and they didn't put the proper pressure, they didn't do the proper things, which forfeited the whole country. of its nature. We don't get to do it the way we want to do it and then call it American. Especially when it's a pathetic group that has been beaten 10 times by me. It's a pathetic group that's been beaten 10 times. There is no contest. Okay? Let's stop the foolishness with these morons. There is no contest. I'm the master. I beat them. Okay? So when you allow what I say this goes into racism. Now you're allowing white entitlement to break constitutional rights because this is a white group. You're allowing a white group to break constitutional rights when you wouldn't allow a black group to do the same gang stalking and illegal surveillance and playing the same psychological war games. You wouldn't allow a black group to do it cross country all around. You wouldn't allow it to happen. But so this is now becoming a race war. Oh yeah, this is a white group. I don't care how many black members they have. It is a white group. And if a black group had did the same thing, they would be put under FBI surveillance, which means this is about what white people can do. This is about allowing white people to do what they want to do, which is a race war, and you have denied America of its nature and character.